And so we're going to go through those concepts again, and then I'm going to let you do some questions on them. Okay? So we have, let me just add a page here. And if you are a person for whom note-taking is difficult, at the end, you can ask me to print out a copy of these notes, and I can do that. But they have actually shown that when you actually take notes, like by hand, you actually retain more of the information. So do your best. But like I said, if you have trouble taking notes or whatever, or you're like, I would just like a copy of your notes, Ms. Spence, just ask me for them towards the end. I'll remind you before the end of class, and I can get you a copy of my notes. I can just print it out for you, okay? So last day you did a POGL activity, and you don't need to write any of this down. Do you guys remember what POGL stood for? Don't write this down. POGL was process, and then oriented, guided. Guided what? Inquiry. And then learning. And if you remember, it is a good method of learning because it really makes you think about things, which gives you a strong primary memory. Okay. It is also good because it's going to help you on tasks like the numeracy assessment you are doing next year, because it has you look at information just like you were looking at information there and analyzing it and interpreting it. And it is good for working on all of those, they like to call them soft skills for employment. So soft skills are things like, can you do critical thinking? Can you analyze things? Can you work with other people well? Can you, get down to business on your task at hand? That kind of thing. So all of those soft skills are also done in this process. And what we covered yesterday was we covered experimental variables. So you could write down as your title, experimental variables. And what you're going to do now is you are going to try and remember the names of the different types of experimental variables, and you're going to write them down. There are, I believe, 3 types. And if you can remember them, you're going to write them down yourself. And if you don't remember them, we will write them down together. So do your best to try and remember. Feel free to chat with your neighbor if you don't remember. Okay, does anyone want to give me one that they think they remember? Mateo? Independent variable, yes. Okay, so we have our independent variable. And we have another one, Max. We have the dependent variable. And we have one last one, Ken. We have the controlled variable. Which one of these things should be plural for any given experiment? Should it be the independent variable? Should we have more than one of those? Should we have more than one dependent, or should we have more than one controlled variable? Yes? Pardon me? We should have more than one controlled variable. Okay, so it's the controlled variables. All right. Take a moment and describe to your neighbor as best you can what an independent variable is. All right, would anyone like to give it a go? Describe what an independent variable is? Yeah?
The variable that is being tested.
It is the variable that is being tested. It is the one that you change. Okay? Again, once you got that, chat with your neighbor about what a dependent variable is. Okay, anyone want to discuss what a dependent variable is? Want to give it a try? Yeah.
It's a variable that changes because of the independent variable.
Yeah, it's the variable that changes in response to the independent variable. What is a controlled variable? That when you're done writing, you're going to discuss that with your neighbor. So tell your neighbor what you think a controlled variable is. All right, anyone want to tell us what a controlled variable is? Yes? It's not that it's not affected, it's one that so if you have water, yeah. You put what in it? Okay. Okay, so you have the one with the maple syrup and you have one without the maple syrup. And you're talking about the one without the maple syrup. Okay, you are so close. That is what we call the control group, the one that does not get the treatment. It sounds like controlled variable, so it can be very confusing, which is one of the things we're gonna pinpoint today. So when I say what is our control group, you're gonna tell me that again, okay? All right, controlled variable, Zoe. Yeah, it's variables that you deliberately keep the same. Why would we bother? Why would we bother keeping variables the same? Yeah. Yeah, so you get a more accurate result. You know that these ones are not affecting the outcome of your experiment. So if you're looking at, say, your maple syrup in your water, right? And you got maple syrup in your water and you got honey in the water and you got nothing in the water. And you're looking at maybe, how many fruit flies do they attract? I don't know. I'm thinking of that because my house right now has a lot of fruit flies. Okay. And you're like, how many fruit flies do each of them attract? You wouldn't want to change the temperature of the water because maybe fruit flies like warmer temperature water, right? And that could affect your experiment. So they keep the same so that they don't affect the experiment. So they don't affect the results of the experiment. Okay. So those are our three types of variables. And if you have an independent variable, a dependent variable, and you control all the rest of them, if you do that, you have what we call a controlled experiment. Okay? If you have all three, so far we have 4 vocabulary words. If you don't have controlled variables, you do not have a controlled experiment. Okay? Now, like I was just saying to Matteo, there is another word, and we need to be careful, super careful, because it sounds a lot like this controlled variable and the controlled experiments. it's called the control group. In any experiment, there will be two types of groups. Did they talk about these groups in the POGL? Yeah? A little bit? Okay. I just saw you calling. It's just late in the day and you're tired. I get it. You're all caught up. Perfect. Okay. So we have two types of groups in an experiment. And one of those groups is called, Mateo, what's it called? The control group. Do you want to try making repeat for the rest of it? Like probably for at least this one. And then this one, don't worry about this one. Yeah. Don't worry about the last one for now, but yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So the control group, have a chat with your neighbor about what the control group is. Describe to them to the best of your ability. What is a control group? Alrighty, anyone want to try? What is the control group? How would you describe it? And remember, stepping outside your comfort zone and being an intellectual risk taker can be very, very good for you. So think about that for a minute. Are you brave enough to try it? You might be wrong, and that's okay. I'm wrong a lot of the time. You should see me in my AP class. I'm like, oh, did I really? Oh, what was that? Oh, yeah. Nobody? It's the group that stays the same. It's the group that stays the same. It's the group where you don't add any of the, whatever the treatment is you're doing, you don't apply the treatment to it. There's actually a second type of control group that we will talk a little bit about later, and that is, has anyone ever heard of a placebo?
Yeah.
A placebo. Like the placebo effect. Anyone heard of that? Yeah. A placebo group can also be a control group. Did you have something you wanted to add? Or were you moving your hand? You were just moving your hand? Okay. So also a group that receives and here's a new word, placebo, which is spelled placebo. What's a placebo? That's a really good question, because if you don't know what a placebo is, you're like, this group is receiving a placebo. This one applies only to situations like medical testing, like if you're testing a new drug or if you're testing a new procedure or something like that, because the placebo effect is something that happens in your brain. So this is not going to apply to, like, plants and fertilizer, okay? Because plants are not going to be like, did I receive the real fertilizer or did I receive the fake fertilizer? Okay, that's not something plants are going to be wondering. But you might be wondering if you were in a, like, say you were in a drug trial or something like that for, a headache medication or something. I'll take a look at that in just a moment, okay? That's good. That's good. Can I borrow the rope pen for a second? Initial. Okay. So this is good. Okay. This is good. This is good. And then you could write the I instead, and then you go to the volume. Final volume.
I wrote everything.
Yeah. And a numerator there. Okay. And you can assign marks as you like. Okay.
I won't be unclear.
Okay. Just use the front page as a guide.
Okay.
Okay. So you can be like, 1 mark for this, 1 mark for that, 1 mark for that. It makes life easy if you just give 1 mark for everything. Okay. Yeah. All right. So the placebo is a fake treatment. Okay. So you might have a group of people that in this medication trial, some people get nothing. They maybe suffer from migraines or whatever, right? And some of the group gets nothing. And so you just see what is their level of, how many headaches do they get per month? Okay. And then you've got someone else who is also going to, that would be a control group, the group that gets nothing. But you're also going to want to say, am I just getting a psychological effect because I'm taking something? Often we think, oh, I've taken a medication. Ooh, I must feel better, right? And sometimes it's like, I'll read about like these weird little things on the internet. I'll be like, ooh, I've got myself this plate. It's about this big and it sits on the floor and it wobbles. It vibrates all over the place and you stand on it and you're like, whoa. And it's supposed to be good for my bones and it's supposed to be good for my lymph system, like getting the lymph, and it's supposed to be good for my circulation and it's supposed to be good for my mood. And honestly, I don't know if it's doing any of those things, but it feels really good. And so maybe I'm going to get some of those benefits because my brain thinks it's going to get some of those benefits, because there is a really strong mind-body connection. If your brain thinks something, you can make it kind of happen even in your body. They've actually done studies in cancer patients where they've had people visualize, like, you know, their immune system going in and attacking the cancer cells and being really strong and doing all that. And then people who didn't do that, and they've compared them, and the people who did the visualization exercises actually had better outcomes in the long run. Pardon me? Yeah, they would have controlled for that. Now, how much of a difference, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's probably not like, you know, oh, these people went into remission and these people didn't. It's probably more like, you know, percentages here and there, or maybe it took them longer or whatever to get better, right? Maybe they didn't need as much chemotherapy or whatever. But definitely, you can get people who are like taking a pill that has no medicine in it at all. They often call them sugar pills because often they just make the pill out of sugar. And so you take a pill that looks exactly like the real one, and you think, oh, I'm taking this. And lo and behold, say if it's that headache medication, you take the fake pill and your level of headaches gets better. And they've proven this. It happens. It really happens. It's crazy, but yeah. Yeah.
They just use like salt water.
Yeah. 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 Mateo was just giving an example where they had people in pain will sometimes get morphine. Okay, it's a pain medication that you'll get if you're in the hospital sometimes. And they ran out of it. They were having a shortage. And so instead of, like, it's an IV medication, so instead of giving the people morphine when they were in pain, they gave them salt water, which is, you know, not going to harm you or anything like that. And people felt better because they knew they were getting pain medication. And their brain did that for them. Your brain, its ability to control your body is remarkable. So, craziness. All right. So the placebo is a fake treatment, and it could also be a control group. So you could have a control group that gets no medicine, and you could have a group that gets the fake treatment. Both of those would be control groups. Okay? And the second type of group, these would be the people who do get the actual medication that they're trying to test. Does anyone know what those groups are called? Starts with an E. The experimental groups, yeah. And maybe there's different treatments. Maybe you're looking at, you know, what brand of floss works the best, right? Is there a difference between those? What brand of orange juice has the most vitamin C? Okay, those would be your experimental groups where you test things. There could be different ones. Okay. Sometimes it'll only be one kind of treatment and there will be only one experimental group. Like if it's a drug trial, you'll get the drug. But if you're like, you know, if you're a cola maker, you're like, oh, I think that everybody is going, no, that's a bad example. Forget I said that. My brain just went floof, which tells me it might just be time for a brain break. Is it time for a brain break? Is it a lovely day outside?
28 degrees.
Shall we go for a quick walk around the parking lot? Let's go.
We actually, we don't have to be there. I don't know that. How fearless? Apparently, according to us. Yeah, counted in. It's good for you. Unfortunately. Makes your mood better. Not really.
Yeah, I just want to type it in because of the question. To be honest, yeah. Sure. Third and third grade. Third. Yeah. 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 You're okay? Yes. Oh. You're welcome. Good rock, yeah. Alright, so you're done with the talking? Yes, I think I'm out of space for notes. I am out of space. For now. Holy God, hold on. Can you call those lines?
Did you cheat?
I didn't think it should have some blank paper around here. So what it is? What's Yeah, no, you're right. Wait, the teacher will come and give you paper, okay?
Okay. Okay, we just got a couple minutes left. We're gonna finish this up. Got a couple things left here. And the first one is some alternate words for these terms. Okay? You can say that you have a control group. This is also known as AKA. I should put that in red. AKA. You guys know AKA? Yeah. Also known as just a control. So it can be called the control group, or it can just be called the control. Okay? And back up here, the independent variable can also be known as the manipulated variable. And the dependent variable, and this kind of makes sense actually if you think about it, because the independent variable is the one that you change. What's another word for changing something? Manipulating it, right? The one that you change, the one that you manipulate. And if you remember, the dependent variable changes in response to the independent variable. So it is also known as the responding variable. So we can have the manipulated variable, same as independent variable, the responding variable, same as dependent variable. I know some of you have done this already, but if you haven't, your homework is going to be to do the questions on page 50, 50. Okay? Would anyone like a printout of these notes? Anyone? We're good? Okay, let me know if you change your mind.
Yeah. Okay.
So Science 9, homework is 50. And we will go over those tomorrow. My phone is going off, my alarm is going off, so you may get your phone if you want to take a picture of the homework.
Get my phone. Oh, my friend. Mallet, hi. You know Mallet? Yeah. She was scared. She went scared. Yeah. That's originally the high school she was with. She was right. It's in her. Like that's she lived near here, but then she was scared. She always texts me during